Welcome to Daytime Ottawa here on Rogers TV. We kick off today's show with an incredible story of resilience, a story of going through challenges that probably most of us could never imagine. I am joined by Ophelia Brown. She has a rare disease called complex regional pain syndrome. Ophelia, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you here, and I really appreciate sharing your vulnerability. And I know you've shared it before, but tell me a little bit about this disease, and perhaps start from the beginning of it. Well, what symptoms did you start getting?
Yeah, so I was 9 years old, and I woke up on Halloween night after trick-or-treating, middle of the night, and was just going to the bathroom, and all of a sudden I was just in more pain than I had ever been in before. Like I couldn't walk.
Wow.
And I was sort of stumbling around, not knowing what to do. Woke up my parents, and they rushed me to the emergency room. So the first symptom was pain, and that's really the primary symptom. And the doctors at the ER were like, it's just growing pains, whatever.
Really?
Sent me home. And that really became a cycle of, for a very long time, doctors saying it's just growing pains, she's just making it up, but pain is definitely not the only symptom. It affects pretty much every single part of my body, muscles, bones, internal organs, and mental health also. So there's really not an aspect of my life that it doesn't touch.
How long until it finally got officially diagnosed?
So it took me 3 years to be diagnosed. We, went to everyone you are supposed to go to. I got tested for everything. And it was sort of a fluke of a doctor, like a doctor who knew about complex regional pain syndrome was just visiting and at the hospital, and he took one look at me and said, that's complex regional pain syndrome. So in my case, it was really just a lack of knowledge about the disease, and most of the doctors who I meet don't know what complex regional pain syndrome is.
How rare is the disease?
Very rare. I don't know the exact statistics. I think it's like 0.006 of at least the American population. It's very, very rare. I've only met a couple people in my lifetime, at least in person. Obviously, there's online communities, but I've only met like a couple people, and that was at a clinic that was treating it. I've never met people in my day-to-day life that have it. Yeah.
Any causes that we know of?
Usually it's caused by an accident or a surgery or something. The way that it works is, so the normal pain cycle, like if you were to put your hand on a hot stove, the nerves in your hand would send a signal to your brain saying danger, and your brain would send a signal back saying pain. And then that's when you take your hand away and it starts an inflammatory response. That's when you get pain, you get swelling, you get redness, all of those symptoms. And that's normal, that's healthy, because it's preventing you from injuring yourself. Right. The way that CRPS works, and it's still so rare, there's still so little research on it that we don't know why this happens. But your brain, once the inflammatory response starts, it sends another pain signal to your brain, or another danger signal, and then another pain signal goes out, and then another inflammatory response, and then that sends another danger signal. So instead of the inflammatory response stopping, it triggers the signal again and again and again, getting worse each time.
Right.
And it doesn't stop, and it's progressive, so it just keeps getting worse. Like the pain, it started in my knees when I was a kid, and it has spread through my entire body, internal organs, everywhere, and it just keeps going.
And you found yourself in quite desperate times. You ended up in hospice, right?
Yeah. So in 2021 is when it really started affecting my internal organs. Eating became just agonizingly painful. By the end, even drinking water and stuff, like I couldn't keep water down. They put a feeding tube in because I lost like half my body weight. And even that took a very long time to get, just because doctors don't understand how this disease works. They don't understand it. There's not enough research. And so I got the feeding tube, and then my body rejected the feeding tube because it was causing more pain. it's very difficult to treat because, you know, they suggested like all of these surgeries, like a lot of people with chronic pain will get an implant, like a nerve blocker or whatever. I can't get that because any physical thing that touches my body causes pain. My clothes hurt, wind hurts,
Really?
Hugs from loved ones hurt. It is very heartbreaking that I can't interact with people in that way. But then, you know, talk about surgeries, having a feeding tube in me constantly, like it's just agony. So all of these potential things that could help, I can't have.
But you did find some type of treatment, right? That's not available here in Canada, is that right?
Yes, yeah. So I was in hospice because my body had rejected the feeding tube. I had no way to sustain myself, so I was admitted to hospice. And while I was there, my friends really saw that I wasn't ready to give up yet, but that I just needed more help that the Canadian healthcare system couldn't give me.
Doesn't provide,
So they set up we found a clinic in Florida. It's called the Florida Spine Institute, and they provide ketamine infusions for people with my disease, and it's been very successul, they've found.
But I imagine very expensive?
Yes.
Right.
So altogether, it's experimental, not covered by insurance. The infusions themselves are $8,000, but I need to get to Florida. So infusions, travel, accommodations, food, everything while I'm there, including another person because I can't do it alone because I'll need someone to help me, is going to be around $30,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we're just looking at your GoFundMe page right now.
Yeah.
People at home, if you're watching, you can certainly help. There's all the information on your screen right there. There's hope for the future then?
Yeah.
Am I reasonable in saying that, Ophelia?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my day-to-day life right now, I am so isolated. I spend most of my time at home, in bed, in pain. I can't work, I can't go to school. I had to drop out of school. And it's just heartbreaking. Like
Well, my heart's breaking.
So many
just talking to you.
Dreams for the future. Like I have wanted to be a filmmaker since I knew what a film was when I was a kid. And I was basically the only one in my class who had a set goal of what my life was going to look like. I was going to graduate. I was going to go to Concordia University to study filmmaking. I was going to take a gap year and go visit my family in England. I was going to make movies, all of this. And that was probably the most heartbreaking thing when I thought I was dying to give up, because that's like the one thing throughout my entire life that has been consistent is I want to make movies.
I wish I had a little bit more time because I'd love to have been able to talk about Doris here, who you say you've had for 5 years now and has been an incredibly important part of your life over the last 5 years. So Ophelia, really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you so much.
And I wish you the best of luck. Again, a reminder, GoFundMe.com/hope for Ophelia. I'll give you a reminder again of that website at the end of the show. We'll be back with more Daytime Ottawa right after this. Don't go anywhere.